Welcome back. This is Peptide Ritual, where science meets ritual, because science is the luxury. I'm Angel, and today we're going to talk about a very small area that gets a lot of pressure, your under eyes. If you've ever stood in front of a mirror and thought, my dark circles are getting worse, I need a new eye cream, this episode is for you. I want to gently reframe something you've probably been told. Your under eye isn't one problem called dark circles. It's usually a cluster of different things happening at once, and each one asks for a slightly different routine. Most people use dark circles as a catch-all. It becomes this vague category for anything we don't like around the eyes. Puffiness, shadowing, lines, creasing, texture. When everything is called the same thing, it's really hard to choose a focused ritual. You end up buying whatever promises to erase dark circles completely, instead of looking at what you actually see in the mirror. So let's slow this down and name 3 common patterns I see again and again. The first pattern is puff. This is that soft swelling that's often worse in the morning, or after a salty dinner, a late night, or not enough sleep. You might look in the mirror and think, my dark circles are out of control. But what you're really noticing is more volume, more puff, casting a shadow. That's a different situation than literal darkness in the skin. Puff is about how the area looks in 3 dimensions, not just in color. The second pattern is lines and texture. These are the fine lines that deepen when you smile, squint, or laugh, and the slight crepey look that can show up when the skin is dry or overtreated. Sometimes people say, my dark circles got worse when I started this new eye cream. But what actually changed is that the area looks more textured, so light doesn't bounce off as smoothly. Again, that's not just color, it's structure and surface. And then there's the third pattern, dehydration creasing, especially under makeup. This is when your under eye looks okay bare, but as soon as you apply concealer, little lines appear that weren't visible before. By midday, everything looks a bit tight, a bit chalky, and you feel tempted to reapply more concealer. It's easy to label that as, my dark circles are breaking through, when really, the area just needs better support with hydration and less product, not more. So, puff, lines and texture, dehydration, creasing under makeup. There are, of course, other variables, but if you can start by placing yourself loosely into one of these buckets, the whole conversation shifts. Instead of asking, what's the best eye cream for dark circles? You start asking, what's the best way to support puff? Or, how can I soften visible texture? Those are very different questions, and they deserve different routines. When we don't name what we're actually seeing, we end up stacking products and chasing trends. You buy something for brightening, something for firming, something for depuffing, something for lines, and you layer them all, hoping one of them finally solves the global category of dark circles. You might even feel frustrated with your skin, when in reality, your skin is just overwhelmed by mixed messages. The irony is that the more crowded and frantic the routine becomes, the less clearly you can see what's helping. A calm, precise ritual starts with language. If you can look in the mirror tonight and say, okay, this is mostly puff, or this is mainly creasing with concealer, you already have more clarity than most marketing provides. From there, we can build a less but better approach, instead of an everything at once experiment. And that's exactly where we're going next. Let's talk about the biggest under eye mistake I see, both in real life and in how products are demonstrated online. It's not the product itself, it's the way we apply it. The number one issue is dragging the skin. Rubbing, tugging, pulling, especially when you're tired or in a rush, adds unnecessary friction to an area that's already thin and delicate. Over time, that friction can make the under eye look more textured, more irritated, and paradoxically, less smooth, even if you're using beautiful formulas. Think about how you usually apply eye products. Be honest with yourself for a second. Do you dab generously, then sweep it back and forth like you're wiping something away? Do you press with your ring finger at first, then get impatient and start rubbing? Or maybe you're not just using one product, you're layering several. Each layer involves another round of touching, blending, and moving the skin. None of this is malicious, it's just a habit. But the under eye truly responds better to calm, minimal contact. A luxury ritual isn't about 10 products. It's about how you interact with your skin. So I want to offer you a really simple, less but better method you can try tonight. 3 steps: amount, placement, and technique. First, amount. Use a rice grain amount of product per eye, maybe even less depending on the texture. More product doesn't mean more results. In fact, the more you apply, the more likely you are to experience pilling, creasing under makeup, or that heavy coated feeling. A thin, even veil can do far more for a refined appearance than a thick layer that never fully settles. Second, placement. Instead of taking your product right up to the lash line, apply it along the orbital bone, the natural curve you can feel if you gently tap around your eye socket. Place tiny dots of product along that bone, from the outer corner, sweeping underneath, and slightly toward the inner corner, without crowding the lashes. Formulas can often travel slightly as they warm up on the skin, so you don't need to chase every millimeter of surface area. Third, technique. This is where we replace friction with intention. I like to think of it as place, tap, press. Place those small dots along the orbital bone. Then, using a clean fingertip, gently tap to connect the dots, almost like you're joining them into a soft line. After that, press. Hold your fingertip against the skin for a brief moment, then lift. Place, tap, press. No dragging, no wiping, no stretching. Just calm contact. If your under eye tends to feel dry or tight, especially in colder months or in air-conditioned spaces, you can follow with a very simple moisturizer. Nothing complicated. Ideally, something your skin already likes. You'd apply an even smaller amount, again along the orbital bone, and repeat that same place, tap, press rhythm. This sealing step helps lock in hydration and gives makeup a smoother looking base without overloading the area. Over time, using less product with a gentler technique can reduce pilling, creasing, and that slightly irritated look that shows up as redness or rough texture. You're not forcing the area to change overnight. You're offering consistent, quiet support every evening. As a psychologist, I often think about behavior as communication. Your skin is the same way. When you stop pulling at it and start treating it with more precision and respect, it tends to look more cooperative, more settled. So tonight, if you remember nothing else from this chapter, try this. Rice grain amount, orbital bone, place, tap, press, and seal only if you're dry. That's your less but better method. From here, we can add one more layer of intelligence, the ingredients you choose, especially peptides. Now that we've talked about what you're actually seeing under your eyes and how to touch the area in a way that supports it, I want to zoom in on one category of ingredients: peptides. In peptide-focused skincare, especially around the eyes, we're looking for formulas designed to support visible firmness, smoothness, and that more refreshed, rested-looking appearance over time. Not perfection, not erasing every line, just a calmer, more supported look. The under eye is thin, it's expressive, and it reflects your life, your sleep, your stress, your habits. Peptide-aligned formulas are created with that in mind. They're not meant to bully the skin into changing. They're meant to quietly encourage it. You'll often see peptides paired with other supportive ingredients that help the area look smoother, more even, a little more uplifted in appearance, while still fitting into a minimalist routine. For me, the keywords here are clinically aligned and non-hype. Peptides aren't a trend at this point. They're part of a more thoughtful approach to formulating. When we talk about under eye care, that matters because this area doesn't do well with heavy-handed experimentation. It doesn't need 10 active ingredients colliding in one routine. It needs a small number of well-chosen components that respect its delicate nature. So if you're building or refining your under eye ritual, you might ask, Is this formula designed to support the way my skin already behaves? Or is it promising an extreme transformation? Does it speak the language of firmness, smoothness, and a refreshed appearance? Or does it sound urgent and dramatic? I always encourage you to lean toward calm, clinically grounded language over miracles and overnight fixes. Your under eye doesn't need pressure. It needs consistency. When you pair a peptide focus formula with the less but better method, rice grain amount, orbital bone, place, tap, press, and a simple moisturizer when you're dry, you create something very powerful in its simplicity, a precise ritual that you can actually repeat. That repeatability is where the visible change accumulates, not from one intense night, but from many gentle evenings where you treat this area with the same respect you'd give something fragile and important. I want to gently bring us back to the goal. The goal is not a poreless, expressionless under eye that never creases when you smile. The goal is an under eye that looks supported, less puffy in the morning, a little smoother in texture, less prone to dehydration creasing under makeup, and more aligned with how you want to feel when you look in the mirror. That shift from perfection to support is where so much of the stress around skincare can soften. So tonight, when you move through your evening routine, I invite you to slow down for the 30 seconds you spend on your under eyes. Name what you're seeing: puff, lines and texture, or dehydration creasing. Choose one peptide-aligned product that respects the delicacy of this area. Use less than you think you need. Place, tap, press. If your skin is asking for more comfort, seal gently with a simple moisturizer. And then stop. Let the ritual be enough. If you want more of this kind of conversation, where science meets ritual without urgency or overwhelm, follow Peptide Ritual and save this episode to replay during your evening routine. Your ritual doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be precise. Science is the luxury. I'm Angel, and I'll meet you back here soon for another quiet, focused ritual for your skin.